Good evening, everybody. Welcome to CW Live. My name's Chris Webb, Head of Communications at the CWU. A very important session tonight. You can see we've got some great external faces as well as the usual internal speakers from national headquarters. After 3 decades of industrial stability, tomorrow the CWU will launch a consultative ballot of our 45,000 members in BT Group who are voting tomorrow to fight back against compulsory redundancy, site closures, and the sidelining of their union. They're also voting to support a union with a vision, seeking a job security agreement, respecting the workplace, and recognising your role as key workers. You're voting, all of you, to back that vision as well. Tonight, we have an excellent lineup of internal and external speakers who will demonstrate that you have support within the union, across the trade union movement, and within new forms of media. Your role as members tonight is very simple. Let us know where you're watching from. Let us know you're voting yes. Let us know you're voting. Share the links and enjoy the session. That's enough of an introduction from myself. Our first speaker, I don't think needs any intro. Somebody who's played a key role in the development of the Count Me In campaign to open the session, and first speaker at our special rally tonight, CW President Karen Rose. Over to you, Karen.
Thank you, Chris, and good evening, everybody, and a special good evening to our special guests tonight who have joined us and taken time out of their busy schedules to be able to speak to our members. So thank you to them and thank you to all of you. So tomorrow is a really big day because our consultative ballot will arrive, and it's going to arrive in your personal email addresses. So we want you to look out for the email, and we want you to vote yes without hesitation, and to encourage all of your colleagues to vote yes too. In recent weeks, we know that we've sent you an awful lot of information. So we've been bombarding you basically with emails and texts and posts, and we've flooded social media with videos and memes, and we've had virtual meetings and national days of action. And all of that has been with very good reason, because we don't want any single CWU member that works in BT to be in any doubt about the importance of this campaign. And tonight, I personally want to reinforce the importance of the ballot and to urge you all to recognise that this campaign and the ballot we're now running is not something that we've embarked on lightly. So for very many years, we've had good industrial relations, as Chris said earlier, in BT, but that's all changed to the extent that we are genuinely fearful for the working future of our members in BT. And this year, for the first time ever, we saw compulsory redundancies for the first time. And as far as we're concerned, that has cast a cloud of uncertainty across all of your jobs. The so-called Better Workplace programme, which is dressed up as a move to brighter, shinier buildings, nicer to work in apparently, but the reality means that we're asking members, or they're asking our members, to travel for hours upon hours extra each week to a new work location, or worse still, they're casting them out of the company completely, not because their work has ceased, not because the work isn't there anymore, but because the company are moving to a new town or city. We've also got concerns about the introduction of new terms and conditions and agreed terms and conditions that undermine your current pay terms and conditions. We've always prided ourselves in being able to negotiate good terms and conditions for our members. And that is being undermined. And as far as we're concerned, it's a cynical and opportunistic attempt to take BT workers in a race to the bottom, where nothing to look forward to other than low pay and zero chances of progression or promotion to look forward to. We're seeing a style of management which has changed to a very bullish way. We've seen some outrageous comments being made by some senior managers. They are acting without compassion or care for the fantastic key workers that our members are. It's you, our members, all of you. You are the ones who have kept this country connected, right? Always been keeping the country connected, but most importantly, you've continued to do that work throughout this global pandemic. And you've allowed so many others to be able to continue their work and their businesses by working remotely from the usual locations. But in the process, you've also been keeping BT going, continuing their business and their profit making. And now BT are putting profit before people. And if we stand by and allow them to continue, with their plans unchallenged, then every single member will be impacted negatively at some point in the very near future. We are certain that that would be the case. So we have no hesitation. When people say that they're being told by their senior managers that they're not going to be affected by this, well, frankly, we don't believe them, and we don't believe you should either. So on your behalf, we have already made a stand. We believe that you deserve more respect. We believe you deserve a better future. And now it's time for you to make a stand too. So we want you to look out for that email tomorrow, to cast your vote, to vote yes, and for us to all send a forceful message to BT that as CWU members, we are uniting, standing together to secure a future in the company that we've all made a success. We've made it a success. And all you need to do is vote yes, and to make sure that every single one of your colleagues votes yes too, right? So we want you to act on that email as soon as you get it, return your ballot, and make no apology for encouraging all of your fellow team members to vote yes too. Nag them if you have to. We will be nagging you because this is so important. You have to do it because this is about a united fight for what is right. So all we need you to do is open that email and vote yes. Please do this. It is for you, and it's for your future.
Thank you, Karen. That's fantastic. So it's also vital that, you know, as well as bringing you the leaders of the union, that we look outside. Our next speaker is someone who has a massive online following, someone who's offering an alternative at the minute to the mainstream media attacks on trade unions and working people, and someone we can say without unequivocally has always backed our union and always stood with our members. We're very, very pleased that Owen Jones is here to say a few words to our members. Over to you, Owen.
Well, I'm so proud to be standing here in solidarity with the CWU, with the courageous leadership of Dave, and with the grassroots of CWU. It is astonishing, isn't it? We had, for weeks, politicians, no doubt the executives of the BT, applauding, clapping key workers out of their windows, their balconies, on their front porches, celebrating the dedication, the commitment, and the sacrifice made by key workers. But what does that applause mean if the same people who applauded those key workers, who have sacrificed and put themselves at risk to keep this country running during the biggest crisis since World War II, when they then respond by attacking the rights, the jobs, the living standards, the security of CWU, of BT workers, in an attempt to strip those terms and conditions and an attempt to drive terms, conditions, and rights down in a race to the bottom. It is a scandal. And we can see this not just, of course, with BT workers, but other bosses using this crisis as an onslaught hypocritically against the very key workers who have been undervalued and underpaid for year after year and are now suddenly celebrated hypocritically in word, but anything other than in deed. And that's why this fight is so important. What BT workers are doing, what you're doing by voting yes, is you're showing your strength, you're showing your determination, but you're also showing to other workers how it's done. Because if bosses in this country think they can pick one group of workers off after the other, that will embolden those bosses, different bosses, other bosses, to attack their workers too. But if workers stand up and fight, that will encourage other workers to look at their example and to fight back and think they can win. And we can see these struggles at the moment, struggles that have succeeded, not least, for example, cleaners in London who have won recent struggles in an attempt to strip away their terms and conditions, casualisation. They fought, they had determination, and above all else, they had solidarity, both within their own workforce, but also from outside. That's why this is so important. It's important for you. It's important for your future. But it's also important for other workers across the country to stand up against these attacks. So by voting yes, you'll be sending a very strong message, a powerful message from a union which has one of the most inspiring and dedicated leaderships that the union movement has had in this country in history. From that you're not going to roll over. You're not going to accept being the attacks lying down. You're going to fight back with courage, determination, and resilience. and show other workers how it's done. I'm with you all the way, and I'll use my platform every step of the way and encourage some of the few journalists in the mainstream media or with a platform who actually support our labour movement, our trade union movement, the democratic mass movement of workers in this country, to ensure that you have as loud voices as possible there behind you. You're not alone. You've got so many people cheering you on. We're with you all the way. And finally, the thing that needs to come out of this whole terrible crisis, in which tens of thousands of people have died because of the disastrous consequences of a government that thought it was putting economic interests ahead of human life, but by locking down too late, we had the worst of all worlds, the worst death toll in Europe, and also the worst economic consequences. They handed test and trace to their private contractor mates. That meant infection spiraled out of control as they drove people back to work, open schools, open universities, and all the rest of it without a functioning test and trace system. This is on the government. Those economic consequences, because public health and the economy, they're not against each other, they go together. Only by bringing this pandemic under control can we reopen the economy. And that's why it's important. Working people are not forced to pay the price of the economic consequences caused by the disastrous handling of this pandemic by the Conservatives, who are bankrolled, of course, by big business. So it's absolutely critical. At the end of this crisis, just as in World War II, when Labour fought to say, now we've won the war, we've got to win the peace and have a new settlement, let's use these struggles as part of a bigger fight to ensure that the settlement after the pandemic, when some sort of normality returns, is a new society that doesn't just applaud key workers, but gives key workers the security, the wages, the terms and condition that they deserve. That's what this fight's about. It's for you, it's for other workers, it's for the heart and soul of this country. And by voting yes, you're going to send a strong message. That's what you're fighting for. Solidarity, and with you all the way.
Thank you, Owen. That's fantastic, mate. We really do appreciate it. We know you're busy. You know you're going to head off, but thanks for all your support and thanks for your use of your platform as well. We really appreciate it.
Always.
So, thank you, buddy. Our next speaker then is barely had the chance to catch her breath from a session with our members last night, but now with 20,000 views on the Openreach session behind her, I'm sure all of the nerves have dissipated and everything is calm. Vice Chair of the Telecoms and Financial Executive, Julia Upton. Over to you, Julia. Oh, you're muted. You should unmute yourself.
Sorry, Chris. Yeah, sorry. So yeah, I just want to say thank you to everybody who's joined tonight. Thank you for taking time out again. I know some of you have listened to a number of these events now, so thank you for that. But more importantly, thank you. I'm assuming I'm preaching to the converted, and you already, having listened to Karen, you understand how important this is. So thank you for standing together with your colleagues. Thank you for standing together with your union and recognising what an important moment in time this is. As we've said before, this is the fight of our working lives. But I want to appeal to those of you who may still be thinking that this doesn't directly affect you and this isn't your fight, who think, well, actually, I'm not faced with compulsory redundancy, or I'm not working in the desk and not faced with a site closure or fear for my future. I want to appeal to you genuinely. As Karen has said, this is everybody's fight. This is BT getting a taste for forced exits to drive down the higher paid direct labour jobs that we have. And that means that if that's the case, if they get a taste for that, and they are getting a taste for that, those forced exits could be coming to a place near you soon. But even if you don't believe that's the case and you think your job security is safe, this is about the devaluing of key workers, and that's a senior management mindset. And we need to change that mindset. If we believe, and we do believe, that at this moment in time, the company has lost their moral compass, we need to redirect them. You need to understand, as we do, that the success of this company is down to you. It depends upon you. And we need that pride and that collective strength that you believe that you can make a difference, that you can change the direction of this company. We need you all to believe that. Stand together, united, and vote yes in this ballot. If the company have lost sight of the reputational importance of recognising your value, we need to collectively remind them of that. in our thousands, we need to stand together and remind them of how important and how valued you are as key workers by your colleagues, by your customers, by the country. Everybody else is recognising it. We need to make sure that BT management recognise that and understand that. And hopefully they will, as a result of this campaigning and what we're doing, they will start to recognise the reputational damage that they stand to have by throwing away 30 plus years of industrial stability. The reputational damage that they stand to have in benefiting from billions of pounds of taxpayers' money to build a UK network, whilst everybody watches on and sees them driving down valuable UK jobs, direct labour and terms and conditions. The reputational damage when everybody sees a highly profitable company, and they are highly profitable, they are one of the few companies and one of the few industries that, if anything, have benefited from COVID in keeping people connected and the business that brings in. And that the whole country will look on and see that a technology company who's selling that technology and making profit on the back of it for everybody else is not prepared to use their own technology for their own employees to save valuable skills, experience and jobs. And we believe that they're also exposing what is actually their green credential hypocrisy in making some of their employees now travel hundreds of miles. If they get their way with their proposed strategy, and Karen has said, ironically, better workplace, when actually it's a location strategy, making people travel hundreds of miles extra, and yet on the same time they stand on the ticket of the green agenda. But most importantly, we believe it will expose their profit before people in this current climate. And we don't believe that the country and customers and the public and their employees and this union will not stand by and watch that happen. Please remind senior managers of who makes this company a success. Please maintain and regain your pride in working for them. We know how proud people have been to work for BT. Please, whatever you do, help us to change the direction of the company. The only way that's going to happen is by voting yes when your ballot arrives tomorrow. We're all depending on you. Please don't let us down. Please all stand together. Thank you.
Thank you, Julia. That was fantastic. And if you agree with what Julia is saying, then you can also send a message to the company by simply putting in the comment box now, I'm voting yes. And as you do that, we'll share the best of them with you also. We get the message out there as far and wide as we possibly can. So one of the other things about this campaign, obviously, is it's being ran during, as you all know, the middle of a worldwide pandemic, and that has severely impacted the ability of the union to do what we do best, which is meet members, hold mass meetings, get in and about the workplace. So we've had to put increasing resource and effort into our online work. Well, somebody who has a prolific profile online and is a great supporter of the union and has basically said to us, I think in his own words, my reach is your reach, is a gentleman called Peter Stefanovic. And Peter's here tonight to say a few words about the campaign. So I'm going to hand over to you now, my friend.
Thank you so much, Chris. Absolutely right. My reach is your reach. And it's always such a huge honor to be asked to speak at an event like this that's so important, because our unions have never been needed more than they are today. And what a union CWU is, it's smashed ballot after ballot, fearlessly smashes ballots. And I know that you're going to do that again today. It's trade unionism at its finest, and we can all be proud to be a part of that. I believe that history is going to record the period that we're living in at the moment as one of the greatest periods of social injustice. And it's the decisions and the actions that we as individuals take today that will define not just who we are, but the country that our children will grow up in tomorrow. So this vote is so terribly, terribly important. I think that the media has almost forgotten that before the pandemic, we had seen a decade of wage stagnation, rising inequality, soaring child poverty, soaring in-work poverty, soaring homelessness and malnutrition. And it's in that context that unions like the CWU are courageously holding that line, which says we will not allow our workers to have their rights trampled on. We won't allow workers to be robbed of their dignity, undervalued, exploited. If an employer comes for one CW member, they come for all of you. It's that kind of strength and solidarity that simply cannot be beaten. And remember this, you are key workers. When this crisis is over, it won't be the lawyers or the bankers or the hedge fund managers that will have kept this country connected during the biggest crisis since the Second World War. It will be you. And that's something that you and your families can be tremendously proud of. But it's also something that means that you deserve respect and you deserve to be valued. And this is no way for key workers to be treated. This is a time when every one of you's got to stand together. Because when an employer gets a taste for redundancy, no one is safe. No family is safe. And you know what? When brave men and women stand together against injustice, you don't just define who you are and what type of country you want to live in. You inspire others to stand up and fight for justice too. And I'll tell you, there's no union I would rather have in my corner at a time like this than the CWU. So deliver a massive yes vote. Send a message with one voice and send it loudly. And I'll help you do it. My media platforms are yours. You can tag me in, message me, DM me, and I'll make sure it reaches a lot of people. So solidarity, everyone. And you can count me in, guys.
Chris, you're on mute, I think.
Oh, I'm on mute. Bloody hell, that's not good, is it? I want to say, I was thank you then, Peter. I'll have to skip that bit now. No, I was saying thank you, Peter, for your support historically, but also over many years, but also in the future. Okay.
More, Chris, and I'm behind you 100%. And I know the country is too. You are key workers. Key workers. You demand respect. You demand our admiration because you should have it.
Thank you, my friend. It's a brilliant contribution, and we look forward to working with you on a number of campaigns, not just this one. So now back to the trade union movement. So obviously it's vital. You're going to hear finally from Andy and from Dave, but also it's comforting for our members to know they've got support from across the movement, and somebody who can bring that support and speak on behalf of millions of working people is Paul Novak, who's the Deputy General Secretary of the TUC. Welcome to the session, Paul. And just before you start, by the way, just to let you know, we've had 4,500 people on already on the session. So fantastic from the members. Please keep sharing that. And Paul, the floor is yours, my friend.
Thanks, Chris. And that's an absolutely brilliant turnout. And I am really proud to join you tonight, proud to bring solidarity from the TUC and the whole of the trade union movement, albeit not from Congress House, which is where I'd normally be, but from my shed in Birkenhead. But the sentiment is exactly the same wherever I am. As Dave and a few colleagues will probably know, I think what feels like a lifetime ago now, I was a CW activist in BT, working on a manpower contract, doing BT charge cards. Younger viewers, ask your parents what a charge card is. I don't think they do them anymore. But honestly, as a former proud member of the Liverpool clerical branch, it is an absolute privilege to be able to offer the TUC's 100% support to each and every CW member that's on the call tonight, and each and every CW member at BT. I want to start where others have left off, really, by paying tribute to the brilliant work your members of BT have done right throughout the pandemic, keeping the nation connected, building and maintaining those digital networks that have kept us all in touch, kept family and friends in touch, and powering that home working revolution that's benefited millions of working people. And I suppose just a reflection from the wider trade union movement, I think the important work your members have done over the last few months reflects the important work that trade unionists have done up and down the country over the course of 2020. It's our members and their unions who've kept people safe and cared for them in hospitals and care homes. It's our members in supermarkets, driving buses, delivering parcels, running the power stations, who have literally kept the lights on. And over the last few months, we found out who the real key workers are. As Peter said, spoiler alert, it's not the captains of industry or the company bosses. It's people like you and your members in BT and in companies and organisations up and down the country. Without unions, there wouldn't have been a job retention scheme, the furlough scheme, which has protected millions of jobs. Without unions, there would have been no safe working guidance, which has kept millions of people safe at work despite the virus. That's guidance that your union helped to directly shape. And without unions, we know that the toll on the lives and livelihoods of working people, their families and communities, a direct result of how the government have mishandled the pandemic would be even worse. And with that in mind, it is absolutely right that engineers, technicians, support staff at BT have all been classified as key workers. And it's why it's such a travesty that BT is behaving with such irresponsibility, imposing compulsory redundancies, threatening massive site closures. And instead of engaging in constructive dialogue with your union, trying to sideline the union at every turn, I frankly think it's time that the new senior management team in BT understood a simple fact. And that is that the CWU is not some sort of special interest group. It's the legitimate, collective, democratic voice of 45,000 BT staff. That was the case 25 years ago when I worked for BT, and it's the case right here, right now, in 2020 as well. So I hope the company listens to you. I hope it changes tack, but it won't do it just because you ask nicely or hope that they're going to do it. So please, please do vote yes in that consultative ballot which starts tomorrow. Encourage your colleagues to do the same. We all know it's true in every workplace, in every dispute. The bigger the turnout, the bigger the yes vote, the stronger you're going to be. And that's what will get the company back to the table, get it to see some sense, get it to change direction. Let me just finish maybe on this point, Chris. If it turns out that you have no alternative but to move to a full industrial action ballot, then I want you to know you can count on the support of the whole trade union movement. Any group of workers fighting unfairness, fighting injustice, will always have the full backing of the TUC. That's our starting point, that's our end point, and that's where we'll be for each and every BT member. You know, we've got a saying in our movement, together we're stronger. Unity genuinely is strength. And that's not something we just sew on banners or hang on posters or say at conferences. It's what drives us as trade unionists. So I've got no doubt whatsoever, sticking together, campaigning together, fighting together, no doubt we can all win together as well. Solidarity to everybody at the CW. Good luck, and I hope hope that the company listens, sees some sense, and gives you the fair settlement that you deserve. Thanks very much.
Thank you for a brilliant contribution. I can see by the comments from our members how much they enjoyed that. That's absolutely fantastic. And we know, again, much like Owen and Peter, you're a very busy man, so we do appreciate you taking the time to come and speak to our members tonight. So now moving to the final two speakers. Firstly, we're going to have the elected leader of the Telecoms and Financial Services constituency, an individual who leads the negotiations with BT Group, and someone who has made it absolutely clear over the last few months that if BT do not back off, then the CW will stand up for its members. And that's exactly what we're doing tomorrow. So to set out the importance of a massive yes vote and a massive turnout, the floor is Andy Kerrs, Deputy General Secretary of the CW. Andy.
Cheers, Chris, and thanks very much. And can I just, first of all, thank Paul, obviously, for his support and the support he's given us from the TUC. Thanks very much, Paul. I really much appreciate it. I don't think everybody understood it. You were one of our members at one time, but I obviously knew that. So thanks, Paul, and thanks for your support. It's really welcome. And it's good that you, not only you, but opinion formers like Owen and like Peter also understand the importance of our members in BT as key workers. So, you know, I don't think they've actually had the credit they deserve over the last good number of months. Engineers who have been out in the working in businesses, in houses, putting the potential, the health at risk, doing the work that they've done to keep this country connected. And it's great that other people recognise them for what they've done, and for all our call centre workers and others who's been doing a tremendous job making this country, keeping it connected over the last few months. And as people have said, you know, Karen started it off. This is not a fight that we wanted. We didn't ask for the fight. We wanted to approach this the same as we've approached it for 30 odd years in BT. Sit down round a table and come to an agreement. That's always been our opinion. But we've been forced into the situation we are now. I've said this often to you. We've been forced into it. And BT have got a strategy moving forward. And I understand that strategy. That strategy is quite clearly this telco, like most other telcos around the globe, are going to change dramatically over the next few years. There's no doubt about that. It is the fourth industrial revolution, after all, that we're actually in at this point in time. But we understand that strategy. We understand the need for change. We understand it much, much better than any senior manager in this company, because we have come through this company all our lives through this company, and we understand the need for change. So we are willing to sit down, and we are willing to negotiate with the company. But we want a genuine input into this strategy, not about the strategy, the real strategy, for example, but we want the input into the application and the implementation of that strategy and how it affects you, our members. And that's the important piece that we want. And that's all about job security, about the ability to reskill and retrain. We have been arguing this, not the company. We have been arguing this for a number of years. They have refused to sit down sensibly with us to talk about reskilling and retraining. They now come out with it, but they've come out with it 2 years too late. And as I think Karen touched on, or Julia touched on earlier, we've got the ridiculous situation that we're asking people to travel 2 hours, potentially, either end of the day, then do a full day's work. And that's the way they want to work. This is worse than what it was at the turn of the last century, not this century, the turn of the last century. People working 12-hour, 14-hour days, leaving their house until they get back in the evening. It's a ridiculous situation. As somebody else also said earlier, the situation where this company is selling the technology to every other business in the UK to allow them to work from home, work remotely, whether it's in the Highlands of Scotland or whether it's in the nether reaches of Cornwall. We have got the technology, we sell the technology to the company, but we can't use it for ourselves. How ridiculous is that situation? And the other position we've got is redundancy. And redundancy, we've actually got situations in part of the company where we know people are willing to leave, people are willing to go, they've had the years with the company, and they want to leave with a bit of dignity. They're willing to leave. But no, the company won't let them go. They're insisting people who want to stay and have many years to go in this company, they want them to leave. In fact, they're forcing them out the door. That is another ridiculous situation we're in. And we've been undermined by the use of low-paid contractors, not because those people themselves are the issue. We should be fighting as a trade union movement, as Paul Novak said, and Owen Tudor said. We should be fighting for those people, Owen Jones, sorry, we should be fighting for those people to raise their terms and conditions, not decrease the rest of the workforce's terms and conditions. So this is a bigger fight. It's not just about a fight about BT. There's a wider connotations to this. But I'm going to finish in this. 2 things. Let's be clear here. We are the voice of our members. We are the voice of the employees of BT, the team members, you, our members. BT have often said to us, you're not speaking for your members. Well, I say again, we are. And this ballot will prove that we are actually speaking for our members, whether it's in BT, whether it's in Openreach, or whether it's in EE. We are speaking for every single one of our members. And the last thing I will say in this, I've had reported to me today that there's been intimidation by managers to our workforce, to our members, saying that if they take part in this ballot, they'll be disciplined. Well, let me tell you this. I want you, every single person, to take part in this ballot. And I can assure you, you will not be disciplined. And I can assure you, this union will fight against any discipline, any intimidation by any manager. These people do not deserve to manage ordinary people in this company. It's now time to stand up and fight. It's now time to take the fight to the company. We've had enough. We've tried to sit down and talk, but we've now had enough. So I'm encouraging you all, every single one of our members tomorrow, get that ballot paper, fill it in, cross it against the yes, in that ballot paper and send it back to us. But not only should you do that, make sure that every person in your group, every team member in your group, every person you talk to over the next few days and weeks, ask them the simple question as soon as you speak to them: have you voted yet? And if they haven't, tell them to vote and tell them how important it is to vote. We need a massive turnout in this ballot, and we need a really, really good yes vote. I'm clear that we're going to get that. I know we can, if we stick together, we can win this battle. Please vote tomorrow. Vote yes.
Yeah, Panna says, get me the paper now. So I think that's a strong message there. And I think and there's so many people saying that they're voting yes as well. It's really inspirational. I even saw there, Andy, as well, a little Scottish flag emoji. So your accent's still going strong, mate. You can be proud of that. So on a practical note, picking up Andy's excellent point around the intimidation, is we have had some members asking us if the ballot is private. Yes, 100%. Your vote is a private vote, and it will be coming tomorrow lunchtime via your personal email address. So don't got to worry about anything like that. The only person who knows how you're casting your vote is you as an individual member. So to wrap up the session and then close up, we've got last but certainly not least, the leader of the union, our general secretary, somebody who can bring solidarity and messaging up from across the whole of the union and all constituencies, but also a wealth of experience in dealing with and winning big disputes. Our General Secretary, Dave Ward. Over to you, Dave.
Yeah, thanks, Chris, and thanks to all our members in BT who've joined us this evening. I mean, look, it goes without saying that the work that you've done in the last 6 months, 7 months since the pandemic has absolutely changed the mindset of a nation about what the role of key workers is in this country. And what this ballot's about, having changed the mindset of the nation and the public, we've now got to change the mindset of the employer, BT. And this is without doubt the most important meeting and ballot that we're going to undertake for decades, from when the CW first came into being, really, in 1997. And it is about, at the end of the day, the fact that we are now up in the ante with BT. We are saying we are rejecting their approach. And what it's about for you, it's about the future of your job. It's about the future of the company. It's about whether you believe that when BT comes forward with major plans for transformational change, that should be done with you or against you. And let's be clear, I want to deal with this message that we're hearing that BT managers are putting about, which is this, is that you've got nothing to really worry about here. This is only affecting a few people. That message is dishonest, and it could not be further from the truth. If you want to see evidence of that, if you have any doubt about that it doesn't affect you because you work in this particular part of BT, then just take a look at what they've said to shareholders. They've told shareholders recently that they are 6 months into a 5-year plan of change, and that they've set aside over £1 billion to spend on redundancies and cost cutting. Now that means thousands and thousands of job losses is what they're really planning. It also means that when they talk about cost cutting, they're also talking about those who stay in the industry, that they'll attack your pay, your terms, your conditions, and they'll use technology to intensify your workload on a day-to-day basis. They're going to expect you to work harder for less. Now, what the CWU are saying is that, this is not just about compulsory redundancies now. It's time we ended the attack on compulsory redundancies. It's about making sure that you as workers have and are entitled to have a say about your future and the future direction of the company. It's time to reset the relationship with BT. It's time to make them understand that if they want to be successful, you take workers with you. You don't impose change on the workforce. And we want a proper agreement. We want proper negotiations. We want to end compulsory redundancies. BT can afford to do that. They're making choices here, as other speakers have said, which is about a direction that is solely based on giving further profits to shareholders. The major shareholders is what we're talking about, rather than seriously investing in a future strategy for the company. So we want a proper agreement that looks after people who choose to leave. There's nothing wrong with that. The union always stands up for people who choose to leave with good voluntary redundancy terms. But we want to find a way forward on change that is mutually beneficial, where you have that say and we shape the future together with BT. Now, I want to talk about what your role is in this, because I can see with the thousands of people who have joined tonight and the messages that are coming on the screen that you're going to vote yes in big, big numbers. But we want you to talk to other members of your teams. We want you to talk to your friends who work for the company. We want you to talk to the colleagues that you meet with, that you talk about all the time, about work and about what this really means to their future and your future. So, our message is this. If you want to win a dispute, and we'll win this dispute, we're confident of that. You can't do it by being a spectator. You have to get involved. You have to be in it for the long haul. And our promise to you is we are in it for the long haul. We know that once you vote yes, the tables turn. We've been in disputes before, and I promise you this, it always happens in this way. They start to listen when the workforce stand up together. And it will give us a platform to launch the next stage of our plan. We'll be able to use that massive yes vote in how we talk to the media, in how us together talk to politicians, in how we engage in dialogue with the shareholders and explain to the major shareholders that this is not the right approach for them or for any of us. So look, we're very confident. We've been in these situations before. When you deliver a yes vote, you deliver collective strength to every single worker in BT. You deliver collective strength to the union, and we start to negotiate properly on your behalf, and we'll bring back an agreement that you'll be proud of, that you'll know that you've played a part in securing your future, in having fairness, in having reasonable workloads, and in making sure that the voice that you should have is brought back to the table and the board at BT level. So look, it's time for you to decide. We're at a crossroads. You've got to vote yes. You've got to stand with your fellow workers. You've got to stand with the union. We are in it for the long haul. We're going to deliver a massive yes vote, and we're going to deliver your future. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Dave. That's fantastic. So just a few thank yous, really. I want to say what a brilliant session it's been. Masses and masses of views right across all of our platforms. So I want to say, firstly, thank you to all of our speakers, particularly those from outside the CWU who have taken the time to join us. So we really do appreciate that. We would like to say on the eve of the ballot, thank you to our reps and our branches who are doing a fantastic job. But once again, can you do a little bit more and give it a little bit more of a push from tomorrow, get that vote out? But mostly we want to thank the members, because you're coming on in your thousands, and it's not worth it anything if you don't come on and you don't turn out. So thank you to all of our members. So tomorrow I think is going to belong to the members of the CWU, in your thousands, ordinary working people having their say. The final message from us is very simple, 3 things. Use your vote, vote yes, ask your colleagues to do the same. Good night, everybody.
Good night.